Okay, so this is this is sort of a one-on-one or JavaScript boot camp, let's call it. Okay, and I'm starting with a really simple toolkit. First, I have ChatGPT, everybody's favorite teaching aid, and I have mine kind of tweaked out a certain way. And if you talk to it enough, you can do that too. And then it gives it's very useful to do it, right? Like for instance, here it's talking about Node.js and require, and that's just because it's confused. That's usually not how I do things, and that's okay. When it says npm, it's talking about a package manager that I don't use. Although sometimes I do use Node.js locally, which might be confusing to people. But for this demo, you see right here, we've got this guy. This is the default thing that opens up when I open up a browser. And instead of going here to Google, I'm going to go to file : / on my Mac. And this location is a little bit different on a Windows computer. But the point is that I am now using my web browser to browse into the file system. And if you click on, you can move around, and if you happen to find an HTML file, it will run, and there's a good chance that it will work, and the JavaScript and everything will run in it. I'm going to try something a little bit different today, just to illustrate a point. Okay, so there's no file involved in this at all, and I'm going to go to Inspect, and this opens up my console, and I like to kind of bring this over as much as I can. So it's interesting, it actually will show the HTML of this auto-generated stuff over here, right? Just kind of neat. But for all practical purposes, we're going to ignore this. In fact, I'm going to, when I'm using chat, see, it's just going to cover that part over. So it's almost like it doesn't exist. And then I'm going to click here to move to console. Okay, and we see a bunch of errors, which is kind of funny, because how can you have errors with this file thing? So this is where we're going to work, right here from the console. I'm going to instruct ChatGPT to give me what I call vanilla JavaScript. In fact, I'll tell it that now. Use only vanilla JavaScript, no npm. Okay, we're not going to use packages. We're not going to use package manager. Now, you do see one package up here that it's talking about, and we'll get into that in a second. So a couple things about this console. Let's see, if you say clear, okay, it clears it out for you. And then there's things that are built into this that automatically run. They're automatically there for you. Like one is window, and or what is document? Is document there too? Yeah, document. So these, see, when I highlight document, it highlights all of this stuff over here. This is kind of the document, and whatnot, right? So here's window. There are some functions here. A to B, B to A. alert, add row. A to B is probably ASCII to binary, I'm guessing, and binary to ASCII, something like that. So let's say I'm gonna guess that that's ASCII. So if I say then, see, and there's all sorts of stuff here. And this is how you can learn about JavaScript interacting with and controlling this. But if I say window A to B function, okay, I'm guessing it's ASCII. And yeah, see, it turned that into I don't know, some other format. And then, you know, we can have a lot of fun, right? We can imagine, okay, the other one must reverse it. B to A. There you go. It brings it back. And yeah, you can research more about that on your own. Now, in this world, another thing which I pointed out, in this world, we also have these browser extensions, and these in particular, this one and this one is called MetaMask, and this one is called Back, and they will inject objects into here that you can use to control. So let's see if MetaMask is there. MetaMask is not there, but it injects it under Ethereum. So Ethereum, and then if you say dot, you see all of these different possibilities. One of them is called is MetaMask, so let's see. And yes, so this means you're talking to MetaMask, and I believe that Backpack isn't so presumptuous as to say it's all Ethereum. So, and you say Backpack Ethereum, and then you say is MetaMask. Does that work? See, and it says false because it's not MetaMask, it's Backpack, right? And so this, see how I'm beginning to function here in this world. If I just click that, it shows the functions and classes and objects for Backpack. And so like send, request, will, you know, these things, like if you do Backpack Ethereum send and you get everything formatted correctly, which is some kind of function, it would open up Backpack. Okay, but I'm getting a little bit away from myself right now, so I'm going to come back to reality. Now, besides these things that are injected, there is a tool in Web3 that I use quite a bit, and it's called Ethers. And if you can master Ethers in its simplest format, in this what I call vanilla JavaScript format, then you're doing pretty good. And so I asked for kind of some examples of ethers, and the first one it came up with was this, which is HTML. But you can't paste HTML into the console here. HTML has to be in a file. So I'd have to create a file here in my file system and then sit here and paste this, copy and paste it into the file. And so instead of doing that, I want to do something more cooler, let's say. So I'm saying there is no HTML, all JavaScript through the console, and it thought about it for a second. And it's kind of interesting the things it shows you as it's thinking. And it comes up with this. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm just going to paste it over here. Okay, let's give it a shot. Now, a couple things that I see right off the bat. It runs kind of in a self-contained universe, right? This is what I would call an anonymous function because it's a function because just like the other functions, you call it with these double parentheses, right? But it's also doesn't have a name, and it's defined kind of like this. So often you'll see this JavaScript in this format, but let's give it a shot. Let's see. And this is the version I like, ethers.umd min.js, the UMD bundle, right? So if it gives you something else, you could tell Node.js you want the UMD bundle. But when you say vanilla JavaScript, that's a keyword in it, so it knows that. So let's give it a shot. And see, it says promise, which means it's running in the background. And then this is the result of it running. And it says it's fulfilled, it's happy. It shows Ethers version 6.14.4. Which, yeah, see, that's the version over there. Now, here's the trick, though. Do we have ethers now? Yes, we do. So now I have successfully loaded ethers into this environment. Okay, and so that's something you might need to say if it wants to give you, NPM. So you have to talk to it enough to get it to return something like this. And I can paste this little snippet somewhere for you guys to grab, but it might be just as easy for you to get it right from ChatGPT, because these are very basic things that it's able to figure out. Okay. So let's move on. So now that we have ethers, I want to create a wallet with a random key. Okay. So let's see. I might be able to remember that. So it's going to be a function, ethers dot, I think it's wallet, and you see it says with a capital W, by the way, and it says it's a class. It's a class called wallet. Well, that's a lot of stuff it's telling you there. And so I'm going to make an instance. So I'm going to say my wallet is new ethers wallet, and you can get ChatGPT to tell you this stuff, but I'm going to try it out. Let's see. And I'm going to say create random function. Okay, there you go. So I figured all that out kind of from memory, kind of from using the prompt here. Okay, and it's create ether. Interesting. So what did I do? What did I do wrong? Ethers wallet. Create random, and it's not a constructor. Why is it saying that? Okay, so let me try it. So you can try different things. I'm going to take this off and see. Ethers wallet create random provider. Oh, do I have to give it a provider? Okay. So okay, that makes sense. So I'm going to say, and I like to use Polygon, but it shouldn't matter. In fact, this is not going to have any crypto, so I'm just going to say sometimes I'll say JTF, which I've trained it to mean just the facts. I've also trained it that sometimes it gets very descriptive, and it likes, it knows that it's dealing with people and we are somewhat flawed. So sometimes it will be very congratulatory, and I call that sugar. So let's see if this knows. So I'm gonna turn on sugar, and I'm going to say, give me VJS, which it now understands is vanilla JS, right? And at first, you could tell it that. When I say vanilla, I mean very basic, bare bones commands like this, because JavaScript can quickly get very confusing when you begin to use these frameworks. So I'm going to say, give me vanilla JavaScript to create a random wallet with ethers. It's thinking. All right, let's see. Okay, see, and it says in true sugar style. So now it's giving me little happies all over the place, which is, you got it, superstar coder. Here's it's funny when I turn this on. It's got little sparklies all over the place. I even, at one point, I was trying to get it to use JavaScript to make confetti happen all over the screen. I'm not quite there yet, so stay tuned for that one, for this sugar, right? Because it's all about it's all about what I call dopamine hits, right? It makes you feel happy, and sometimes you need that. Anyway, I'm a superstar coder. You can drop this into a DevTools console, even off of a file page, to summon a fresh Ethereum wallet in the blink of an eye. And that's a spaceship. Okay. So now, okay, so the first thing it does is see, we've already got this, right? We've already got ethers loaded. So we can start at this phase. Now, what did I mess up? That's what it's telling me to do. Oh, I didn't need the new tag on it. Okay, that's what I got off. And ethers wallet, create random. There it is. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you have to say new. And I guessed wrong this time, but that's okay. So now it shows me, again, right here in the console, everything it's created. And this is the first address in the wallet. And there's a lot of other stuff that I don't really worry about, but you can. Here is something interesting. This is actually more than one address. It's built from a mnemonic phrase, which is these 12 words. And you can't quite see. You can kind of see them there. I don't want to pull the screen out, but so yeah. So now let's take a step back and play with this. See, so first of all, there's no file here. It's all in the console, all prompted from ChatGPT. I now have an Ethereum address. I don't have any crypto, but that's okay. We're not going to do anything with crypto in this. But see, and also since I assigned it to my wallet, if I didn't do that, it would just be created, and then sort of it would exist. It wouldn't be super useful. But if I say my wallet, right, now again you see that same thing it showed a second ago. And then I want to say, hit the up arrow to bring it back up, hit the period. I'm going to say my wallet address, and look, it shows you just the address down here. Okay, just the address. Now, the next thing I want to do with this is I want to give me a code snippet. It should know what that means. It now knows what I'm doing. It remembers, right? So it's going to be similar to this. It's calling it wallet here. I called mine my wallet. It doesn't really matter. But give me a code snippet to now. I'm trying not to get it to tell me this start part before. Sign a message with wallet dot address, right? That's what it's calling that. That's what I'm going to ask it. Give me a code snippet to sign a message with wallet address, and we're going to go back to just the fax mode. This is something I kind of taught it to do. It's kind of interesting. I even was able to put in help. To sign a message. See, it's kind of thinking about it. Here we go. Sign an arbitrary message with the existing wallet. Now let me talk a minute about signing messages. That's actually, in my opinion, the most difficult, not for you, but for the code. That is the primary thing that I would say Ethers does, or really any of these clients for blockchain, is signing messages. And a certain sort of message in JSON, which I talk about a lot, is a transaction. So the transaction is signed, and with cryptography, and then when that happens, it becomes a big string of hex. And you send that on into, let's say, kind of like the hive mind of your ledger, whichever one you happen to be dealing with. It sees it knows who you are, so it sees that you have actually you give it the message, and then you give it this big blob of kind of signed message, and I'll show you that in a second. And from that, it can tell who you are. And so it says, okay, do they have permission then to do like this transfer? And if they do, then that goes on to the blockchain. But you can also just use it as a way to, well, I'll just show you. Okay, so let's see. Sign an arbitrary message with the existing wallet. Okay. And this wallet is called wallet, my wallet. So I'm going to say, how about this? Because I don't have wallet. Wallet equals my wallet. Okay, now I should be able to say wallet. And there we go. I fixed that. Okay. Now, this starts. Okay, this should do it. So the message is hello from Ethers. And we're going to sign it, and then we're going to verify it. Okay, let's do it. So we're going to copy and paste right here. And there you go. So the message is hello from Ethers. And you can kind of see it. We can read it over here from the ChatGPT side. So that's assigned to this variable message. We're going to say signature is wallet sign message message. Okay, so let's do this again. Let's do this. So we can say my message. my message. That's different, right? And one of my favorite messages is gibberish. Okay. Because I'm a lefty, and that's the gibberish you can make with your left hand. So okay. So see, I'm going to step through and try to learn this myself, get this really embedded into my brain. So I'm going to, and I shouldn't have to do the await part because I'm doing it step by step here in the console. This is called a REPL loop, by the way. REPL. Which is it's not an option, but it stands for, I'm just typing it in, or I can ask over there, but it stands for read, eval, print, loop. So if you ever see that REPL, that's what it means. And so it evaluates each command at a time. Sometimes it has to kind of be a blurb of stuff. Anyway, I have a new message. So I'm going to say, sig2, I'm going to call it sig2 equals ethers. No, not ethers. Because I'm using my wallet. So wallet, right? Or, I'd originally called it my wallet. Dot, and then see if I say sign, look. See, and interesting, there's one called send transaction, right? Sign message. By the way, this guy right here, sign transaction, you see? See where we're headed? You can sign a transaction and then you send it. But we're going to sign a message. What message? My message. Again, I hit tab to finish that out, right? My didn't work that time. That's funny. The second time I tried to show you, it changed its mind. So I'm going to sign my message, right? And let's look at it again. Wallet, sign message. And again, let's not worry about this await stuff. This stuff has to do with the fact that in JavaScript things can run in parallel. But this will be long finished, and then I'll talk, and then it'll be just fine. So sig2, okay, so there you go. So sig2, what is it? So it's interesting. So this is a promise that says it's fulfilled. So we might have to dig that out. So let's just say if we say where it says console log signature, I bet that is not going to work. Oh, it does, kind of. It still returns a promise. So signing a message runs in the background, so it gets a little weird when you don't do it. That's part of the async stuff, I think. So I'm curious to see if this verify message is going to work the same. And this is how you learn, right? So we're going to verify message, sig2, and see, it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work was because sig2 is, well, let me ask, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT. I sort of know the answer, and this is something kind of infuriating that I've had to deal with over the years. It's made a lot easier now. I think if I do something like this and say, instead of saying sig2 is my wallet, I think I sign it and then I say then this, which is really weird. And then, so let's try that. Let's see what happens there. Aha! See, this time, sig2, it's just going to work now. Oops, that's what I just did. Verify message sig2. Oop. Uncaught error R. Oh. All right, let's see what happened. Oh. I got the verify wrong. When you verify, you have to put the message in there too. See, it says message sig, right? And I only put the signature. I have a feeling, though, before when I did it, yeah, there's a different error before. So this is how you play with this stuff. So so I'm going to say, I think it was my message sig2. Okay, see, so when I give it my message and the sig2 thing, it comes back with the ID that signed it, right? And that's huge because you can send my message to somebody else, and like in, you could open up Discord, let's say. Let's say that even though you're on Discord, maybe I don't trust who you are, and I want to know that you have control of this ID. So I could give you a challenge. The message is a challenge, and then you could return this blob, and then I put the challenge and the blob in, and it'll tell me your ID, right? And that is very powerful. But you're probably a little bit confused about this right here, and this is because it can't sometimes. Let's get ChatGPT to answer. So why? Let's see. So when I was stepping through this in the REPL console, I got a promise from signed message. Why? Why did it make it complicated for me? Wallet signed message is defined to return a promise in ethers. Signing message might involve async work, like a hardware wallet or a JSON RPC. Okay. So the signed message, it could even use, MetaMask or something, right? Maybe, right? I'm guessing. So then they can't tell how long signed message is going to last. And that is a huge part of what makes working in JavaScript tricky. So you're going to say sign the message and then do this, right? And are there other ways to do this? This is just a pattern that I've learned. And let's see what it says. It might use the word promise. Top level await, right? Yeah. See, that's if you remember, if you look back at what it told us to do, the answer was really there. It said to sign an arbitrary message, you have to call it as an asynchronous function, right? So remember, this is that anonymous function that I was talking about before, right? Okay, so we're calling a function, and it's asynchronous, which means it's got to wait, I guess. And you see right here, it's got this await, right? And I think you can only use await in an asynchronous function, right? Like, let's try it. Let's try to break it. So if I come back and say, remember, so this is the one that returned a promise, right? See, promise. And so now if I come back and I say, okay, I don't want a promise, I want it to be done, so I'm going to wait for it. Ooh, that worked. Interesting, interesting. So now, so that's the trick. So you see, sometimes I get confused about things and have to, you know, get a little help or really think things through. Because there's two things here. There's being skilled at understanding how Web3 works, and then there's remembering Node.js isms, right? Now, let's watch this. So I'm going to take my little thing that I did here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to create a function, right? Function. My big sig. All right. And this is, I believe this is called camel case. It's very strange. The first letter is small, and then you use big letters at the to mean other words tacked on. This is opposed to having dashes or underscores in there. Anyway, now I predict that this is going to fail. I think it's going to tell me that I have to declare it as an asynchronous function. So let's see. Yep. Await is only valid in async functions and the top level bodies of modules. Aha. So that's why await worked here, is because I'm at the top level. I'm at the console, right? But if I try to put that into a function, somewhere, where did I do that? Then it fails. So then I have to say this function is asynchronous, just like this anonymous function thing, right? Here you have a name. You actually have the word function up there. Let's try that. And I didn't like that either. Wow, okay. So let's take that off. Async. Just take function out altogether. And unexpected token. Oh, see, it's got this little guy here. which I'm not going to try to explain that. You guys can here ask ChatGPT. What does mean? It'll tell you. It'll tell you all about it. It's called the arrow function. It defines anonymous functions using a shorter form. I see. So yeah, because anyway, I'm just really playing around here. So that's an asynchronous function. That's an asynchronous anonymous function, and here's what I think I wanted. Right, I wanted to give it a name. And then, by the way, if you wanted to, I think I can figure the rest out. For an asynchronous function, this is that pattern that you see before. I bet that would work by itself. Let's see. Yes, but it still doesn't do anything. So then, see, we need to call it. And to call it, I think you do that. Yeah, that's right. So I've assigned an anonymous asynchronous function. That's a mouthful. And then I call it. If I don't include that last little part, it doesn't get called. Now I wanted to give this function a name. And it might seem like I'm sort of rambling, but you know, this is how you learn things. This is how you get to, okay, this is, oh, do you put async up here? Async function. So you say async first. I'm not passing it any variables. And see, that worked. That works. So sig2, I'm going to blank out sig2. Okay, and then we call that. sig2 still blanked out. So in this function, sig2 is only local. So that's why it says return. So I'm going to say return. And this is stuff actually I need to play around with more. Sometimes you just have to sit down and do things like this. Okay, so now I have my big sig function. And I can call it. Guess I could type it in. My big sig. It knows what my message is from before. Right, and it returns a promise. And you can just go on. Like you can say, okay, what if I say this? What if I say then? I use this pattern here. I bet this won't work. But maybe. Oh, it did work. Anyway, so that's see, but now let's take a step back, okay? Let's take a step back and look at what we've done. So we have, with no file whatsoever, there's no file involved. I've simply opened up this console here, and I have pasted this in. Now here's a test. What if I open up a terminal, and we don't have Node. Let's see if we do that. Do we have Node now? Yes, now I have Node in my path. Okay, so if I go into Node, see it says, now I'm in the interactive version. So let's try this same sort of stuff. Right? So here in the interactive version of Node.js, I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it over here. See if it works. Document is not defined. So, yeah, so you have to do things a little bit different in Node.js, okay? And I've done that. So let's see. I think if I go here, here's where I was playing around with Node.js, and so I have this new wallet.js. Now I actually have a file. And again, there's different ways you can have a file. You can make an HTML file and stick it in this directory and call it. And if you do everything right and have your script escapes, it'll run all this. Or you can take the same thing and you have to put it in a slightly different format. See here, I have ethers locally as a file. You can even look at it. It's going to look really strange. Right? It's JavaScript, but it's all got the spaces taken out. So if I say node and new wallet JS, it's going to come back with that. And then these are some Unixisms. There's a command called JQ dot, and again, because I've used this pipe right here, that's called the pipe. It sends the output that went to the output of this command. Node.js runs this, and then it pipes into this command called JQ, which I had to install, which is free and open. And then dot means show me everything, and then I say dot address, should show just an address. It's different because it gets generated differently each time. And this is JSON. Again, I talk about JSON a lot. JSON is fundamental to all of this. And in fact, I think in this directory, I have a JSON file somewhere. Yeah, there's go. etherkey.json. This key, I am not using this for anything, okay? So, these different keys that you see, they're just, don't use them for anything because they're now in a video, right? But you see, it's instead of this being generated from the command, I just say cat and can bring it out of the file, and then again, pipe to JQ. Let's grab this path, or no, let's grab that. See, and then you have this subset of JSON, and you can then put another dot and say word list. What's the word list from? Word list only has locale, so then you say locale, and it's going to be just that, right? Or phrase, right? There's the phrase, and so on, right? So I've just accessed the same stuff in 3 different ways. I've kind of used some files to do it. Sometimes when you begin to get into Godot, which is this gaming engine, then we even have things like this loader, which escapes to the operating system. So now we're not in Godot. Now we're not in JavaScript. We're in Godot's scripting language, right? And we're running Node.js, and we're giving it that option, just like we did from the command line. a new wallet. The reason why it's got these around it, it's sort of considered an array of commands potentially. That's why it's like that. And so here you go. Let's see. I'm gonna copy this whole thing, and I am going to paste it into ChatGPT and do something like that to kind of show that this is me talking, and say, what is this? And it should know what it is. Let's see. Thinking. It's thinking. Okay, so it knows it's Godot running a Node.js script, it grabs the JSON output and prints the wallet. So it's Godot. So somebody said, ChatGPT told me this wasn't possible, but yet when you show it to ChatGPT, it is. It explains it, right? And then it offers even a different OS create possibility. So now we're in the world of Godot. It may know this is Godot because I've been talking about Godot, so you might need to prompt it with that to tell them that it's Godot. Give it some help. And then say, okay, so now the cybersecurity folks, let's say, why would you run Node.js from Godot? Okay. This is when I use the word unorthodox. Is it? Because this is not, nobody tells you that you can do this, but this is in the real world. This is how people accomplish things, especially if their manager says this has to be done yesterday. Then all of a sudden you get real creative. Oh, it's saying you can leverage NPM, which is true. You can do all sorts of stuff. Now it's talking about IPFS, which it may not tell you about IPFS, but for me it will. Everything is Web3 centric now. It's talking about wallets and ABIs, and yeah, because in part of that you would have to imagine is because it says new wallet, but part of that is, of course, because it knows it knows what we were talking about up here, right? Different stuff. By the way, give me some sample JSON. Give me some sample JSON. Here's some sample JSON. And I bet that key won't work. I bet that key is no good. Creamy, honey, rich, smooth, crumble, sweet treat. Yeah, that's it made up something. It made up a nonsensical phrase that's like a phrase. It made up an address. It's not a real address, right? That's funny. That's funny. Okay. Because all I asked for was a sample. So then, just to show you, and I think I showed the folks in class, here's a more detailed one. Here's how to, oh, see it, and it goes on and it says, look, to output this from Node, you use JSON stringify to change the object into the string. Godot can parse this with JSON parse string and pull out the keys. Show me a more advanced example of JSON that isn't about Web3 and uses arrays. I call them arrays. Okay, let's see what we got here. Here's more advanced JSON. And alerts. Okay, let's copy it over. Let's see what happens. So here we go. Okay. And then I'm just gonna again use my little JQ command, which I find very helpful. See, and it formats it. So yep, it created valid JSON for me. So you have something on the first level. You have greenhouse ID, location, sensors. Yeah. Okay. So let's drill down into sensors. Okay. See, it's a slightly smaller snippet, and notice that sensors, again, this is what I call an array, and there's another array right there. When you're dealing with an array, the different elements don't have names. But see, here is unit. This is not an array. This is the JSON. Here, I'm gonna get really clever here. Okay. Do you call a JSON clause that isn't an array, like a dictionary? Object. This is an object. Okay, yeah, so objects are in that, arrays in that, string. And in the objects, it always, the left-hand side is always in double quotes. And the right-hand side is only in double quotes if it's a string. And then numbers. Sometimes numbers get converted into scientific notation, which is very frustrating when you're using different programs. That happens to me in PHP sometimes. But you can, so now with your little sample, and again, it's all about playing with this stuff, right? So I'm saying, okay, sensors is an array, so I should be able, yeah, so this is the first object within the array right here. Again, it doesn't have a name. I know it seems like it has a name. It has a type here, but the whole thing doesn't have a name, right? So you can't refer to it by type and get all of this. That's probably kind of confusing. But what you can say is sensors 0, and it gives you only that first one, right? And then if you wanted, let's say type, you could say type, temperature, and then if you wanted readings, now you have another array, right? So again, here you say like 2, that should be that 21.9, and so on. And you can just get really good. I like to even mess around with stuff at the shell here. You can do all of this stuff through JSON. I will show you. Okay. Back here to our console, because maybe you guys don't have a shell, you guys don't have JQ. Check this out. So if you say sample equals, and this is going to seem strange, but I think it will work. You paste all of the JSON in just like that, and it works. Because JSON and JavaScript are really closely tied together, right? So now I have loaded that into sample, right? So then I can say, again, same thing, sample sensors. You see that there's an array of 3 parts, right? 2, and again, let me stress the importance of just playing with this stuff, okay? So what have we learned here? We've learned about JSON, we've learned about JavaScript, we've learned about Web3, ChatGPT. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Sometimes, people say that they have to spend quite a bit of time with my videos, or they feel free to stop it, go back, but do this yourself. Experiment with this yourself, and you will come to learn things so quickly. Okay, thanks, guys.